I've been talking to the silence, it answers back slow. Echoes of my demons in the places I don't go. Scars in my mirror, stories I don't show. Trying to fix the cracks before the pieces explode. Yeah, I've been walking through the weather in my head. Rain falls heavy when you're sleeping with regret. But I ain't trying to drown, I'm just learning how to swim. Every tear I cry, turn to fire from within. I don't wanna fake fun anymore. Tired of fighting battles I ignored. If I'm broken, I'm still whole enough to grow. And I know, I'm just trying to find my way home. Through the pain, through the unknown. If I fall, don't let me go. We can heal, we can grow. It's a lonely road, but I'm not alone. If you're walking too, then we'll find home. I remember nights I couldn't breathe, no sound. Head full of thunder, heart on the ground. Every time I called out, no one was around. Now I'm building peace from the pieces I found. Yeah, it's messy, but it's real this time. No mess, no act, just my mind. Learning how to love what's been scarred and confined. Cause even pain got a place in the climb. I don't wanna fake fun anymore. Time.
Welcome back to the Lonely Road. Hopefully, as long as I'm good at my job, there should be a video before this video, or it might be the next one, with a brand new intro song and everything else. I'm thoroughly excited about it. I just haven't had the time today to put into it right yet. Trying to give this the time that it needs for shorts and everything else beforehand. So welcome back. Hopefully you guys are taking your journey to become a better human, as all of us should be, but some of us fail. How have you been, TJ?
If they're here, I'm pretty sure that they're trying to take some kind of journey, or they like our content, because I'm just seeing people interacting more and more. I mean, there's not like there's just more than there was before. People are more people are subscribing, more people are listening to shorts, mostly. More people are interacting, whether it be with a little comment or whether it be with just likes, and those people are here for a reason, and I believe that it's just that. Either they're experiencing something that they don't know how to get through, and they're looking, or they're just looking for some kind of path, because a lot of us just don't have or haven't had that path at all. So yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm busy, but hey, I'm coming off a vacation. Got a couple of days of just chill under my belt, so I'm good to go back and hit it. Get some money in the bank for Christmas.
Absolutely, man. First off, I know that this really isn't a place for this, but I don't really give a fuck. The fact that even with all of the chaos that's gone on in my life in the past month and a half, the fact that I cleared over 300,000 views in the past 28 days is fucking mind-blowing. Between this show and between RMTS, us clearing over 300,000 views across multiple platforms is so mind-blowing. It's so crazy to see the growth of everything, and everything kind of just go the way that I know it would if it just did the thing. And guess what? It's doing exactly what I expected it to. I just had to keep going. And that feels so fantastic. And honestly, it's so, and I didn't even think about this beforehand. It is so tangential to the exact topic that we wanted to talk about. And it's something I think everybody kind of deals with, is not living up to what they built you as in their head, and you not becoming it, and trying to figure out the entire conundrum that not living up to others' expectations actually is. And so many people will just think about their parents when you say that, but it's every single person in your life. It's your significant others, it's your kids, it's every single person that you've ever impacted or had a conversation with. They have a picture of you in their head, and the more time that they have around you, the more that picture is developed and created and everything else. And it could be right, or it could be very, very, very fucking wrong. And it just kind of depends on exactly where you want to be in that kind of aspect.
Yeah, like, I mean, have any of you ever had one of those moments where you just stop and realize, hold on, I've been living my life to make other people comfortable, rather than taking hold of of my life and doing what with what I need to do, what I long to do with my life. And sometimes you have expectations from your parents, your partner, like you said, your boss, teachers that depending on how old you are, where you are in life, or this invisible version of yourself that you have in your head. You compete with that too, you know, that you think the world wants to see this person. And that was a lot of me. My issue is that I let the world kind of mold me into what I thought the world wanted me to be, or wanted to see, rather than just going with what I knew was right and then paving my own way, knowing that that's okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was for me. And I'm going to say this quote, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I know exactly where that came from." My entire like teenage years, even with all the trauma and everything I dealt with, I was very, very outgoing, like half the time. And when I was outgoing and I was loud and I was intelligent and I was everything, anytime that there was a negative time when I was like being snarky or being an asshole, it was you're an egotistical asshole and you need to stop it before somebody puts you in your place. Now, that quick wit and that egotistical asshole is helping people put their lives together and helping people do the things that they need to do based off of how like intelligent and how quick-witted I am every single day.
Sure, sure,
The
but you have to understand that there's a level of humility that comes with that too, that you don't have when you're a teenager.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
that I think that with probably saying words that were not the best words to use, I think that person who we both know who we're talking about is saying, um, you know, humility, Zach, humility.
Absolutely. But I think a lot of it, and I've worked on this with my kids and stuff like that as well, is it's not just telling somebody how they're doing something incorrect or whatever. It's actually showing them why that is a negative. It's not just saying the buzzwords or saying, oh, you're a narcissist or you're a piece of shit here or there, whatever. It is actually showing them the thing that they're doing wrong, why they're doing it, and then helping them work through how to do better. It's not just saying the trivial buzzword at the beginning that like will shock you into submission or shock you into change, because those things, regardless of what they are, may genuinely be the thing that you build the basis of the rest of your life off of, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make people proud. You want to make your parents proud, and I think they set these expectations. I mean, being, in where I am in life right now, I see myself in a lot of this, but I'm trying to set expectations and try to make good little human beings. And
Yeah.
rather than feral human beings who aren't going to take people's feelings into consideration and things like that. So I think that there's a truth in both parts of this. I think that parents can raise their kids to a certain point, but once kids get to a certain point, you have to allow them to um, bring their personality into that, like you do as a
Exactly.
father. You know what I mean? You hold these principles as you're expected to be a human being. You're expected to hold yourself to a certain standard. You know what I mean? But you're also allowed to be yourself while doing it.
Yeah, and today has been one of the weirdest days ever. So last night I was sitting here just working. It feels like sometimes I'm just always like even doing like little minor things where I'm like I just need to do something in order for things to be stepping forward in the correct way. And Maddie looks at me, she's like, "Hey, Dad, can you read over this essay?" I was like, "What is it?" Because like just at least prompt me and tell me what you're doing before you're doing it. She's like, "Well, I had to read this book and it had essay and alcohol and everything else." I was like, "Why in the fuck did you not tell me about this first?" Because I have a problem with this. She's like, "I have a problem with it. I've been struggling with it because of like mental health and like it re-triggering my trauma and everything else." I'm like, "Baby girl, why did you just not talk to me? I would have helped you with this." So she messages me this morning, "Hey Dad, I don't know if you were serious about saying that I didn't have to do that project and everything else. But if you are, I have English next. I have to talk to this teacher. Please call the school if you were serious about what you said." I'm like, "Hey, I got you. Don't worry about it. And I already called the school and everything else before she even messaged me. And the principal called back. Not the teacher, not the secretary. The principal is like, "Hey, this is serious. I've already cleared her from the actual assignment that she had to do and everything else. I agreed with you. But we weren't informed of what happened and everything else. So obviously, you have to treat every kid as normal." I said, "Absolutely." I told him, I said, "As a whole, the way this world is much different than when I went to school. And I completely understand that. There's going to be gray area conversations from when I was in school that happen in school today."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, I was a Spanish teacher and wanted to teach about Day of the Dead and everything else. And that offended some cultures and stuff like that." I said, "Absolutely." I said, "But when this stuff has been in her paperwork and everything else, and it's been very, very in your face, and I talk about it in her 504 and very, very straightforward and everything else, she should be heard. It shouldn't just be a mandatory thing." And I'm not asking for carte blanche to be able to say absolutely not about everything, because there's some things that she needs to learn to push herself through.
Right. Right.
But I'm not going to allow my kid to be affected mentally because of a book that has been banned in multiple schools in multiple states, because you feel like it's the greatest answer to give in this situation. And he said, "Absolutely, Zach. You want to know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to make sure that all of the teachers write down all of the things that are gray area topics and stuff like that, and give you access to full course curriculum. Obviously, you can't opt out of absolutely everything, but I think that you have absolutely a right to be a part of this." I said, "Honestly," uh, and he's like, and I want to go a step farther too. When Madison came, she was a loud-mouthed, "I'm going to do whatever I wanted" child. And she was great. She had one of the greatest personalities ever until you made her mad. He said, "But I've watched her do everything the right way this year. Every single time that there's been a problem where she's advocated for herself, she talks through it. She doesn't just say no, she explains why and stands on whatever the hell you told her to stand on. And she does everything the way it needs to be done." And I said, he's like, "There's nothing more that I could ever ask for any student other than exactly that. She's showing the growth every single year." And I'm like, "Yes."
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's the growth under the weight of other people's expectations. I mean, the expectation of having to do that assignment without anybody knowing. Who knew and who's gonna know? But why? Why are we bringing these things in? Why are we making these kids read these books? There's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
A lot there to unpack. But when
But
you are trying to live up to others' expectations in that particular circumstance, she decided that she was going to try to power through it, maybe. And
yeah.
then she's like, "Oh, wait, this is a little bit too much. I need my dad's advice." And so she, living up to other people's expectations, she tried to do the
She did
assignment.
both.
Yeah. And she advocated for herself. So that's amazing. And she's what, 14 now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I couldn't do that at 14.
I
I was
couldn't
arguing
communicate through
grades.
that.
That's all I was doing.
I couldn't communicate through that at 14 years old. No, I was just starting to understand life outside of my own, bubble at 14 years old. It's
Life
crazy.
at 14 was still for me of like hiding behind the curtains because, haha, you can't see me when my shoes are sticking out. It was using blankets to hide things because things needed to happen, but still not being able to be like, "Can I just stop?"
Yeah.
Like, it's so mind blowing because you genuinely do help everybody in the way that you needed the help. And like, I am so proud of her and so happy with the way that she's being able to advocate for herself and do the things that she's able to do, even in the face of adversity. Like, and she understands, hey, my expectations are that I need to fucking be a person, and everything else is fucking extra. I'm happy that that is the expectations that she understands. Is like, hey, as long as I can get up and I can do the things that I need to do to be a human, everything else is just an expectation of myself. It's not from anybody else. Everybody else loves me regardless.
Right. Right.
And It's so weird. It's so weird to see that click
Yeah.
because I think that's where a lot of parents are. But the thing is they don't know how to fucking explain it.
Yep. She she learned how to release that weight that she was carrying. First, she bared the weight for a little while, and then she learned how to release productively the weight that she was carrying. She stopped trying to chase the approval of the teacher and the school, and she looked within herself, to the bigger picture. And she stopped living. She took that moment to stop living for the school and what the expectations of the school were, and put herself in a place, that fostered peace, that fostered purpose, confidence. And that is amazing, especially at 14 years old. And I'm glad that you're raising such emotionally intelligent children. And I hope to help do the same for my grandkids.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's so weird. And I've had this conversation with my mom too. It's like everybody will end up having this perception of not only yourself but everybody else. And when you don't meet up to whatever your perception of what you needed to be was, without realizing the fucking terms have changed, you idiot, it is so hard to like fucking change the perception of what you wanted to be.
Mhm.
You can't change it without realizing something changed, but yet you're so oblivious to the change, you don't realize that anything changed.
Or also giving yourself permission to make the change,
Exactly.
because you're like, oh, we got to keep going. We've started this one thing. We need to keep going on this one thing. And it may not be, something that um, you can be strong through. It may be something that you definitely need to move to a different instead of moving on through it. It may be a hard stop. You know, why? Where do these expectations come from? A lot in life, like you said, family. That's true. You have people. As you're growing up in this family, or you're supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. And like I said, that's fine and good up until a certain age. And after that age, that's also fine and good to do to raise your children correctly, I feel.
Yeah.
But you also, like Maddie, have to put their level of personality into it, their level of experience, their fortunate or unfortunate circumstances. Uh,
Yeah. It feels like there's such a perspective on life that when you're working through things and you see things and you see a change that you have to make, it is almost impossible to see that without the other person being like, hey, like, no, we can't keep going like this.
right.
And when that person isn't the exact answer you expect it to be, it slowly becomes enabling really, really quickly. And obviously, we both have seen this in so many different circumstances. It's really hard to even compile it into one where it's like, no, this is a clear cut answer without being like targeted. But like as a whole, it is so hard even within yourself to realize those things.
Yeah, it's true. And specifically because you're raised a certain way, I think in a lot of society, then after you reach a certain age, then starts to pile on you. At least my specific experience was it just allowing, ignoring my intuition, honestly, and allowing people to kind of shape, how I moved instead of moving the way I felt, my identity was, because maybe I didn't, well, not maybe, I didn't feel like my identity was worthy, you know?
Yeah. No, and
The
I
reasons
think a
for
lot
that.
of people deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to kind of bust through that. You have to let go of what others want you to be, and you have to forge your own path, and that's grief in itself. Being able, or kind of releasing yourself from those expectations of growing up and kind of transforming it. Doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a rebellion, you know, because power is not found in rebellion, but it's found in that alignment, that transformation, that ability to make that change.
Yeah, it almost feels like, and this is going to sound fucking philosophical, and I really don't like sounding philosophical sometimes, but I think this one deserves it. It almost feels like when you realize that you're not the perception of others, You're reborn. And obviously, most people don't have the same like drastic impact of one specific day that I do. And I understand that. Like, obviously, my neck surgery was a huge fucking impactful thing for my life. It changed the course of everything because I had to change everything. It touched every single part of my life, including family, including wanting people there that had no idea things were happening. It had a dictation towards everything and had such an impact that it was just like, no, now life changes. Now life feels different. Now life feels like I'm on borrowed time because I'm not supposed to be here anymore. Obviously, I don't want everybody to go through that level of impact in their life, but at the same time, that's what realizing that, hey, you don't have to live by Aunt Joe's fucking ideal of, oh, you need to be religious and you need to believe this and you need to do that. Hey, some of those things might be positive, some of those things might be negative, and if you don't want to understand the complex in and out of the entire thing, step away from it completely and look at it from a vague perspective instead of just that person's.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you don't know anybody the version of yourself that um, keeps them comfortable. I
Yeah,
mean, if that makes you a smaller human being, or makes you feel like you're kind of kept in a box or whatever, then you need to break out of that. Like those expectations, sometimes good intentions can turn in good intentions and moral building uh things as you're younger, like in an ant type situation, can kind of turn into a box if you allow it to. It can also be a stepping stone for you to use uh, as you become a better human. Because no, maybe that person doesn't know what emotional intelligence or emotional growth is, because uh, in their era that wasn't a thing. They didn't think about those things. It was, we got to get up, we got to go to work, we got to make money, we got to come home, we got to feed our family, and we got to get the homework done, and we got to move on, go to bed. That's that day. You don't have they didn't have the part or the key of bringing in that emotional intelligence to it. So build on those. If they're good principles, obviously, if they're shit principles, they're shit principles. But if they're good principles, build on those good principles, and don't allow it to box you in, but allow it to set you in motion
exactly.
towards something that you're building.
Allow it to be the step into building a better you instead of it being this big derogatory thing that, like, I think everybody tries to sit here and pigeonhole a lot of those things.
You don't have to feel
Like,
guilty.
just because you're not religious or you're agnostic or whatever, like, doesn't mean that everything that somebody taught you that was religious or agnostic or whatever is derogatory. Not everything that somebody says to you is like, you can't just pigeonhole yourself into thinking that you're not valuable just in everybody's eyes, not even just one person's.
No, I mean, you have the ability to, even if you don't believe the exact same thing as somebody else, most of their disappointment in like turning away from a religion or whatever is that they don't want your moral compass to go out of whack. They don't want that magnet to get near that compass, because once that magnet gets near that compass, then you start to spiral down into bad things. That's the big fear from what I've noticed. But people don't communicate that in the right ways, especially in the older generations, because they want to put the hammer down, and that's the way they do things. But that's not necessarily the right way to do it at that portion, at that time, at that juncture. You are able uh, to take the north is north, right is right, wrong is wrong. You have to base your morals somewhere, and if it's not in a religion, you really have to figure out where it is. Good and evil is mine. And some people are good and some people are evil, but you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, what do I want?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think the chaos comes, is like they feel so invalidated themselves that their own feelings, their own thoughts, their own wants become invalid. They want to become this picture that daddy or grandma or grandpa want. And guess what? You're a human being, so all of your life choices didn't lead up to that. I remember the craziest expectation I've ever received, and it's really funny where it came from too, was my stepdad. I love him to death, but I did this project in fifth grade. And on the back of it was like letters to the writer or whatever, and we wrote a book. And my stepdad wrote, if Zach just put his mind to anything, he would be president one day. And that was it was one of the things that drove me for so long, because it's like, yeah, well, if somebody's finally seeing it. But it's just like that, it blows you away when something like that just clicks randomly, because it hits you in the chin of like, oh, well, somebody perceived me that I could be at that level,
Yeah.
and I'm never going to be there. I'm never going to get there. I stopped making those choices. And that's surreal. And I think that that's where a lot of people, like, one thing will hit them. It's not like a downfall ideal of like, oh my God, this person's a bad person. Sometimes it is, but not every time.
No, but if it's a pattern of something that you're stuck in, with your emotional, costing your emotional cost, if your emotional cost is too much, for the expectation, then you really need to figure out, what's going on. You need to look inside, first of all, because that's always where you look. You're always pointing inwards. You're finding out why these things are emotionally costing you. And then, you take, I, in my, I take the good from a lot of people in my life, even people that I don't really mesh with very well, people that I don't agree with on a lot of levels. I still take the good that they are and kind of try to put it into my repertoire, because if I like something, or a personality trait, or a value rather, of somebody that I'm hanging out with, or that's in my family, but I don't necessarily hang out with them because I don't like the way they move. Um, I'm going to uh, I'm going to put that in my life in a way um, that honors them as they are in my life, because I'm taking the good and I'm building on myself, and I'm making the choice to move for myself, but I'm not mirroring this other thing. I don't have to be
Exactly.
all these other things in life, but I can use some of these things from other people that wasn't raised with, to say, oh, that's good. I want to institute that. Oh, that's good. I want to institute that, and bring these good things in. So people that didn't have a good upbringing like that, that's where you can look to for these type of things, and then you have to ask yourself, okay, how do I break those old patterns?
Exactly. And there's so many different ways that you can go about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I've always lived life this way. There is a handful of people in life that are unmentionables. And that might sound harsh, but they're always the people that do every single fucking thing wrong or trigger you in this way or that way. But they're still human. Regardless of how you perceive the fucking world, every single person that you have dealt with in it is, guess what? Still uniquely a fucking human.
Mhm.
And so many people want to write that off as not something that's possible, and you should be angry or you should hate this person or that person or whatever. Everybody has something.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're practicing authenticity, in what you're doing, you you can always start saying no, to the things that you're feeling guilty, and saying yes out of guilt for, because those things happen when you're living up to others' expectations. You're saying yes to things that you don't really want to say yes to, and you might be saying no to things you really want to say, yes to. It's something. Make sure you notice when you're saying yes out of that guilt, instead of the choice that you're making. And then make sure you're asking yourself, what do you want? You can build off of the foundation that you've been given, bad or good, and you can build off it, or you can kind of destroy the parts of the foundation that you need to get rid of because of toxicity or bad rearing or whatever the case may be, and you can rebuild that part of that foundation. So ask yourself, what do you want? And sit with that silence. Sit with it. Let it be. Just sit with it for a while, and then redefine that success. That's how you get through breaking the pattern. You redefine success, not by pleasing everyone or pleasing a person, but pleasing you inside. And I'm not saying that you do everything to please you, because then you're leading yourself into things that you don't want the repercussions or the consequences for. Just remember, all your actions have reactions and consequences. So you have to be at peace with your own choices as well. You know,
Exactly.
always practice that authenticity, in my opinion. Say no, set the boundaries, speak your truth. Um, Again, power, in my opinion, is not in the rebellion, but it's how you find the alignment, um, and and be able to hone that into something that's going to fuel for you.
Exactly. And lighting that fire and being able to accomplish that is exactly what you said it is. It's not where the fuck you start or what the fuck you're dealing with. It's exactly where you feel like is acceptable. The
Assholes are opinionated.
foundation, yeah, the foundation that your parents give you, the foundation that your family gives you, is exactly that. It's just a foundation. You can destroy everything and start at fucking zero, regardless of if you got given $5, $1 million, $100,000, anything. You can start at fucking zero if you choose to. You can say, I don't want any of this. But you can't change the perception of the world unless you actually change you.
Most of my problem growing up was I was worried about people's opinions, you know, and as I've grown, I've come to know that people's opinions fade. Opinions are like assholes. It's serious. But what your insides tell you, and your self trust, learn to trust yourself, trust your feelings. That will carry you forward. Living for yourself doesn't mean you don't love others. It doesn't mean that you don't appreciate things that your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles did for you or tried to do for you in good faith. But it means that you finally love you too. And for me, that was huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels so real. It's hard to realize that, you're not the picture that everybody paints of you, but you're the person that artists and, you're the author of that fucking book that they're writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've heard this fucking quote by Jordan Peterson so many fucking times, and I love it. The way that you are perceived in my head is an important one. And when you prove me wrong and you paint a picture that is different or worse than what I perceive you as, that's the worst thing you can do. Because now, not only am I second guessing you, I'm second guessing every single choice I've made because of you. The world changes because you're proven wrong. The world changes because you're confused at what's going on. When somebody gives you a picture of this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am, and they fucking lie, and they give you a picture of something that they're not at all, and they can't be that person, the entire way you perceive the world changes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I really feel like we've always all honestly felt that struggle. I know you and I specifically has felt the struggle and the tug between who we are and who the world expects us to be. So in closing here, what would you say to people that are in the same situation? Like, what would you say if they're right in the middle of that struggle on living up to others' expectations and wanting to fly?
I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard because I had to throw everything away in order to realize what I wanted. Everything that I felt like I wanted my entire life up until I was 16. Because I guess after that point, I was kind of, kids for what I wanted, anyways. But like a lot of those life choices and a lot of those things, it seems like everything was almost gated. Everything I wanted or everything was the perception of others, not what I actually wanted. So it became a fucking inflection about everything that I needed was kind of held back. So that neck surgery kind of disconnected me from the entire world. It made that fight to finally do what I wanted to do and I needed to accomplish it. It made that like pressure on that thing almost mandatory because it was like not only do I love this thing, but I need this thing. This is all I got left now. In order to be a good person and in order to do the best I can for this person and that person and be the dad I need to be at everything else, I have to live up to the perception that I put forward for myself. I wanted to be this, therefore I need to live up to that expectation and accomplish what the fuck I say I need to do. And for the first time ever, I think I started doing that
So
in
for you, it was a
2021.
turning, it was a moment, like something that had to happen to you, like the neck surgery, right?
Yeah.
For me, it
And I
was
don't want that to be for everybody, but like I
no.
think it's
I
the
mean,
truth.
but I think when you make big changes in your life, that's true. That brings true for a lot of people. For me, it was my mother's death. That was my best friend. That was my rock. That was my foundation. That was the person who showed me the most how to navigate the world the best that she knew how. In my opinion, that was my whole entire world, not only crashing, but underneath me, I fell plunged into the deep blue sea. Bermuda Triangle, that's where I was, and I had to swim myself back out of that shit. And that's when my perceptions all changed. You know, I stopped living for others' expectations. Well, I wasn't really, I was kind of more of put a lot of the foundation that I had been given aside and tried something different. And it was not something that I should have done. And so that was where I came back, and my mom's death kind of happened at the same time, and I was on the way back from that whole thing, being like, I definitely should have done differently. And then those two things collided, and the whole world for me just kind of imploded. So it was me deciding that when I came up from the ashes, I was a brand new person. I was going to be a brand new person, but I was going to be the person that I wanted to be. I was not going to look at others' expectations. I was going to build off the good that was given to me as a foundation. I was going to take the bad and learn from it, move differently moving forward in the same similar situations so that I didn't make those types of mistakes again. But I chose that. I inwardly looked hard for years, silence internally, just listening. And I did. And I'm becoming that. And it's late in life, but I'm doing it. So anybody can. You can start young. If you're a teenager, you can figure out how to, you know, sow those oats while still maintaining your morals and your dignity and becoming who you are in the world. And if you're older, if you're middle aged, kind of like Zach, you are able to make those changes. You're able to.
And I live by this really weird principle. If I've done everything wrong, even all the way up until today, I've wasted that amount of time. Why the fuck should I waste any more?
No, I'm going to move differently going forward. But there was a lot of time in my life, I say back in my old life, where I didn't learn. I just did the same things over and over again, thinking it was gonna be a different result, and that's insanity. That's the absolute definition of insanity. And when
Yeah.
I stopped doing those things and moved differently, my life changed.
In your adult life, you have 7 fucking chapters of Harry Potter. If you're on chapter fucking 3, you got 4 more books to rewrite a brand new fucking story. Just go fucking rewrite it. Like it's not fucking rocket science. It's just completion and execution. And that's all you got to do. If you're on book 1, fucking start it now. Like there's no reason not to make yourself the best version. If your perception's wrong, your perception's wrong. That's not meaning that you're doing the wrong things. That means that your action is looking at the wrong action.
Yeah, the
That's
rest is
it.
still unwritten. I mean, the book is up to the chapter that it's up to, and that's fine. Everybody's can look back and say, "Yeah, I did that shit. Yep, I did that shit too. Yep, I acted like that too." And it's okay. I'm not proud of it, or I am proud of that part. You can pick and but move differently. If you don't want to feel
Yep.
the same shit you've always felt, move differently. You don't have to live up to others' expectations. Um,
And honestly, you said live for yourself. I don't live to make myself happy. I live to make myself proud. Like
That's the thing.
I want my kids to not look at me and say, "Did I make dad proud?" It should be, "Am I doing everything I can to be the person I want to be?" And if I can say that I'm proud and there's more things that I got to do in order to execute on a better level or a different level, then I'm going to keep going, obviously.
There's a big
But
difference
like,
between feeling good and doing good.
yeah,
Big difference.
I don't need to be happy. I need to be proud. I need to do what I need to do. I need to be different than the person that they built in their head. Just because I've never became it and I've never was able to actualize it doesn't mean that I didn't succeed.
Yep. I need to break
I
this
think I'm
curse. I need to
having
move differently going forward.
I think that that ego and that funny guy, that smartass at 15 years old impacted more people than anybody really thoroughly thought that they would. And you know what? That makes me kind of proud.
Should be. Should be proud. I think we as people, we don't understand how many people we impact as in life.
Yeah.
I know I don't understand. If I were to pass today, I'm sure a lot more people than I think would be impacted. It's an ever flowing
It's a
thing.
weird thing too, because like when you go to elementary school, you're like, okay, my room's as big as this fucking classroom, and that's all the people that
Mm-hmm.
I fully know these people. No, you fucking don't.
Nope.
But you've touched all of their lives.
Yeah.
You've impacted them in some way or another. You were an asshole to them. You took their fucking hat, smacked their glasses off. You took their eraser or even their teal colored marker.
Or you stopped the person that tried to do that to them.
Exactly.
What kind of
But
impact did you
then
have on people? How did you make them feel?
I think most people, because of how many people they work with and see and everything else, you have a county worth of people that you impact in your entire life. And, there's more people that have more than that, and there's some people that have less than that. But a county's worth is a pretty average size on what you can look at. And when you realize that many people has an impact on you and you have an impact on them, it is surreal. Because when you look at that number of like, oh, so I went to school with this many people and this many people were impacted by that amount of people. Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Because then it gets weird. Like you think, oh, well, my kids. Okay, so how many people have my kids impacted? And they've impacted a full county worth of people. So now I've impacted 2 counties. What's that? Like 200,000 people have been impacted me just by like the direct people, not even like the people that I've talked to or talked about or had interactions with. We're just talking like the people that I've interacted with and the people that my kids have interacted with.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's awesome to me the amount of people that we touch, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And ask yourself at the end of the day, whose expectations are you living for? In my opinion, if you're not living for your own, then you need to look inward. You need to set them, meaning set the expectations that you want to live for, and you need to live them.
And that's what I found I needed to live for. It was not the appreciation and validation from others. It was legacy.
Yep.
It was, I want to rubber stamp every single fucking thing I do and make it the best. My therapist said that to me today. She's like, Zach, you accomplish everything at 90% or higher on every single fucking thing you can do. Most people will never reach the top 1% or top 5% on podcasting or on YouTube or on this or on that. And you've accomplished every single fucking one somehow. You've been a dad since you were a teenager, and somehow you're still in their lives and didn't run and go get a fucking gallon of milk and a carton of Newports because that's all that was important. You're still fucking there. You're trying to make sure that everything is okay. You're not saying, hell, let's go get some chalky milk and chicken tendies because that's all you thought about at that point. You're still fucking here. The things that you do in this life are more impactful than what you could ever imagine. Just because somebody else has a different path for you doesn't mean you have to take it. You can absolutely take the path that is unbeaten and untraveled and actually do the things that, everybody before you didn't do. If your entire family couldn't fucking do college because they couldn't fucking do it and they couldn't figure it out, and you're able to fucking graduate, fucking congratulations. You fucking did what every other person couldn't even perceive. And guess what? I did exactly what every other person in my family didn't. Every single fucking dad ran away. Every single fucking dad went to go get their pack of Newports and a gallon of milk and found a hooker and did this and did that. And guess what? I didn't fucking do that. I beat all of those expectations at fucking 16 years old. Not many people say they can. And guess what? That is my legacy. I did what you didn't. We'll see you fucking next time. Keep walking the path. You're not alone. We'll see you fucking next time.
Cheers.